meeting of the Baltimore County Agricultural Land Preservation Advisory Board is now in session. We are your volunteer representatives appointed by the county executive and confirmed by the county council to advise on matters involving agriculture and agricultural land preservation. We review and recommend on issues relating to existing and prospective agricultural easements. Additionally, we make recommendations to the county regarding agricultural zoning issues and other issues relating to agriculture. At this time, will each board member identify themselves and their affiliation with farming? My name is John Merriman. I raise corn and soybeans in northern Baltimore County.
Steve Meyer, dairy calf feeders.
Scott Welsh, nursery greenhouses, White Marsh, Maryland.
Brenda Stromer, Woodstock, Maryland, cattle, goats, and pig operation.
Joe, there you go.
Sorry. Holly Gilmore, equine.
Wally Lippincott, staff.
Megan Benjamin, staff.
Joseph Wiley, staff.
Thank you.
Hope I cut off Ann Jones. Sorry about that.
No, Ann Jones, who knows what, so, you know.
A presence.
And I'm going to have to do another meeting on my phone, so if I act more confused than normal, that's why. So bear with me.
Okay, Ann. The chair calls on Wally to inform the members of the board of any changes to the preliminary agenda.
Well, actually, we'll give that to Megan.
There are no changes.
Okay, there are no changes. The next item will be the approval of the minutes for the September 9th, 2020 meeting. Everybody has their copy of that. They can go over it and see if there's any additions or
I motion to accept the minutes as presented.
second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The minutes are approved. Okay. We move on to the request. Okay, the first request is from Douglas Carroll regarding approval of a child's lot. The board will discuss that.
So, Joe, could you mute John? So this is a request from Doug Carroll off of Green Spring Valley Road on a mouth easement. It's actually for an owner's lot request rather than a child's lot, as your packet indicates. And Joe, if you can go to the next slide. So the mouth easement covers the area outlined in red. There is about 45 acres that Doug owns. And then the piece, you can't see me pointing to it, but the other piece to the east that connects up to Green Spring Valley Road is owned by his sister, Susan Immelt. So Doug's request is for the release of an owner's lot. The location is approximately as shown in the yellow box. It would be 1 acre up to 2 acres if needed for reasons of getting a perk or something along those lines. The location would be accessed through the property that he owns. You can see, I don't know how well you can see on the map, it's the property that's labeled 1117 and it has the green dot just north of this property. There is an MET easement on that property, but that easement allows for access through that property. There's an existing farm lane that goes along the western edge of that property down to this parcel that's in the Malf easement. And Doug is, as I said, making the request for an owner's lot, as indicated in the picture. Along with that request, we would also ask for the approval of that as an agricultural subdivision of the lot from the remainder of the farm. Oh, so here are some photos I took on the site visit. The first one there is basically the location of the lot. And if you go to the next slide, that is showing it from just to the west of that location, looking to the east. And I believe Doug is on the phone if we have any questions, or if you have any questions for me to start.
I guess, Megan, you might, for the new board members, indicate that the owner's lots or child's lots, those are a right of the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation easements, also the county easements. The owner has to, whoever it is that obtains the lot has to, they have to be a non-transferable building permit and construction for be by that owner or that child, and they need to reside there for 5 years. If they do not use the approval, then after I think it's 3 years, they have to apply to have it renewed. And for the criteria, when you look at a lot or child's lot or an owner's lot, the criteria is to locate it towards the edge of the property and to not be one that you would anticipate would reduce the capability of the easement land for production agriculture. So that's when you look at where the lot location is. It's up against the fence, towards the edge of this easement property. It's not out in the middle of the field. So, and if it was on the road, if this parcel was on the road, then we would have pushed it up on the road, or asked it be pushed up on the road. But this easement is off the road. So is Doug on? Doug, Carol? Doug, did you want to make any comments?
Wally, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Everybody else
That's
hear
a
Doug?
miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. I'm not used to this. I did hear you say one thing. I do not need to have the approval to have this lot separated from the easement, if that's a factor.
Oh, yeah, right. This is right. This owner's lot would stay with the, so right. What Megan was talking about is the ag subdivision. We kind of do that by automatically, but you're right. In this case, you don't need that because you're not going to, you don't propose that it be a future subdivision from the lot.
Right.
So that's a good point.
I don't
Thank
need that. Right.
Thank you.
Part of this is motivated by the fact that the easement is, that Malf is requesting to change the terms of the easement by something to do with my sister's property. And there was some talk of, we were asked to sign some documents that I did not feel comfortable signing because they significantly changed the easement terms. So I spoke with Michelle and we decided the best way forward is to apply for this owner's lot.
So Doug, back to your point, if I may interrupt for a sec. There's kind of two circumstances for lots. One is an unsubdividable lot and the other is a subdividable. So it sounds like, are you going to limit this to being a non-subdividable?
Yes, in other words, the acre would always stay with the Malf easement.
Okay.
But the easement is made slightly complex in the fact that when it was done in 1985, it was subject to a subdivision between my sister and me, which was further defined in 1986, I think. And we were under the impression the easement had divided, but apparently Mouth feels that the whole easement of 72 acres is one easement. And so we're in the process of dividing it into this has nothing to do with the lot application, but my sister's in the process of dividing the easement. You
Doug,
understand this, Larry?
I guess this is the view from the back of your house. This is beautiful. What a beautiful view.
Yeah, this is looking towards Hillside Road south.
Beautiful.
So that's the motivation for establishing this lot. And my wife and I are wondering about whether one of the kids will live in the main house where we live now, and we would move to this house in that case.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. I'll make a motion. I move that
Separate motions on the subdivision.
No, just one.
Can I call for a motion
yes,
for Doug Carroll's request to release the owner's lot?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Wally.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
The motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
Thank you for your time and effort on this, especially Megan's.
Okay, the next request is the approval of an agricultural subdivision for the property of Old Road for the family of Nancy Batters. I guess Rosier was her maiden name.
Yeah.
And I'll call on Wally for some background information, please.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm unmuted. We've got some reverb here. Okay, so this request, this is and Doug Duvall, the surveyor, is here. This is for 54 acres off of 439 Old York Road. Previously, the farm of the Rosiers, George Rosier. And it's, you can see, well, you'll be able to see in the next slide. We can go to the next slide, Joe. So you can see it's farmland, it's all farmland, and it's adjacent to other easements. And the request is to subdivide off through an agricultural subdivision, 1 acre for a family member. And that's shown up in that top right-hand corner. What actually happened was this lot was actually created back in, what was that date? Back in
72, I think.
72, thanks. As a lot for one of the family members, and they came into the county, and the county advised them to do it as a tenant house. So that house has been there. So the request now is to separate out into separate ownership. That approximately, what is it, an acre, a little over an acre of ground, and the other part would remain as an active farm. As I said, Mr. Duvall's here. Oh, yeah, good, thanks. Good pictures. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's all on cropland. Used to be in cattle.
Still has
some cattle in the back.
Oh yeah, it's about 25.
25 head in the back.
Yeah.
So again, for the board, the criteria for an agricultural subdivision it's threefold. First, there has to be compliance with zoning, which it is because there's 2 lots on the property, and this was to take one off of. And secondly, it has to have no new roads or streets. And as you can see, the existing house is on 439, and there's a separate drive to the other house. And then thirdly, for agricultural purposes, and where the county looks to this board to weigh in onto the agricultural purpose. And we typically, the board looks upon these subdivisions as ag purposes because it's leaving the remainder in agriculture as a result of this, and it was for a family purpose. So I can, if it's okay, I'll turn it over to Doug Duvall if Doug wants to bring in some more information.
They actually pretty much summarized it. The Batters have lived there since '72 and raised their son there. And she and her sister grew up in the farmhouse in the 50s and 60s. And then she married and moved and built a house in '72 and has lived there ever since.
And so if your board makes a recommendation, it goes what's called a development review committee. And then if they approve it, then the letter goes forward and then this get recorded by a deed and description. And then it gets done. Doesn't have to go through a full subdivision, all the complications of a subdivision. If there's any questions of the board of Doug or Doug Duvall or myself.
Hearing none, I need a motion of the request by Nancy Batters and Norma Wheeler to approve an agricultural subdivision for the property along Old York Road.
I'll motion to, so moved.
Second,
I'll second, John.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Very good. Many thanks, Wally and Megan, for your help.
Thank you. Now you want to move to the closed meeting? Or is there more to do yet?
We can cover this page here, the status of easement, transactions, inspections, and updates. So I can add that we know that the MALF FY21 easements are being appraised. They're starting that process now. Joe can probably update on all of the rest.
So we did, when was our last meeting? September?
Right.
We finished up the Kurtz baseline. I believe he is final. Wally, is he finalized? Do you know? Oh, he's muted. I believe Kurtz finalized. So that was the third from 2019. We are in the process of finishing up the Enzer, the second Enzer farm. So that's coming up. And I think the next one down the pipeline should be Steve Piper's farm.
Right, Steve Piper.
Good.
Right off 83.
Yep. So other than that, inspections, we're going to try to get Wally to do some inspections. So we're going to, since it's COVID times, we're going to just do drive-bys and what we can see from the roads. Just, we don't want to risk any exposures.
Hey, Joe, do you want to mention, we found out that we could have access potentially to a drone. We are always obviously sensitive to how the ag community would feel about that. We thought about if we could find one of the farms that we needed to inspect and the landowner was willing, that we might try the drone out on that. What any discussion the board would like to say? I mean, is this something that just like raises immediate concern that if people hear about it, that they think it would be invasion of privacy or something? Or is there any sentiment?
If I can go in real quick, what we would use the drone for, we would be on the property. We wouldn't be sitting in Towson and flying over Baltimore County. We would be on the property, take it up 20, 30 feet, just, get a different view. We find we would find it probably especially useful late summer, especially if the farm's planting corn. You know, a little hard to see. Maybe take it over the tree line, see if we see anything. But of course, you know, there's a lot of variables with drone flying, such as wind and weather and. Do you guys have any feedback on stuff like this?
I
It
think
should
it's a
be
good
helpful
idea.
to you.
Yeah,
If it would be helpful to you, Joe, you have one. And it,
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a hold of one, nothing to try it and see how you like it.
I know.
Help you out summertime.
We thought too. You know, we had that. What was it? 2020 when we got locked out of that property when we were supposed to be doing the leases. It would have been useful, something like that too, where. But so
If we're locked out of property, is it legal to use it?
That's what we're trying to work out is how do we, you know, I guess maybe we could just ask the landowner when we notify them, like.
they'd have to sign a release.
What was that?
Yeah, I think they'd have to sign a release, of course, and hold us harmless.
Well,
That's-
it also could be part. It also could be part of the paperwork when you apply for this easement that, you know, you will be giving us permission.
Right.
We kind of figured it though, like if we would take any pictures, it'd be no different than us taking pictures
When you
on the ground. So
Yeah, when you physically visit the properties, over the years, you've taken 1 million pictures. You know, with a file. I think it's good to use new technology. It's more efficient. You know, saves us a lot of time and expense.
yeah, we would test it out to see. You know, drone prices are coming down. You can get a really good drone now for about $500 when they used to be a couple thousand a couple years ago. So
Yeah, great.
You can take it out of my ag board pay.
Hey, wait a minute here.
Oh, man.
No Christmas bonus. I'll give it to you, Joe. You can keep my Christmas bonus also.
oh, thank you. Okay.
Jeez.
I think what miscellaneous information, correspondence, news.
Wally, did you want to talk about the value added? The value added?
Oh, thanks. Yes. So the value added report is going to the planning board tomorrow night. And for those, again, that sketched that out. So that's the purpose of that is to find some balance between getting more value added businesses in the county with less regulation, but also balancing that with making sure that the public safety issues are concerned. During the public hearing, the couple of the communities that spoke up, they had concerns about making particularly craft beverage or alcohol production anything other than a special exception. We have proposed that if it's not sold on site or consumed on site, that it could be treated like any other agricultural product. But as I said, that was probably one of the bigger concerns raised. The other concern raised was when we proposed to create these 3 levels of basically use, the one being the conventional corn, soybeans, cattle use, that's treated as a by right. The second level, which would have more value added, and that might include small boarding facilities for horses with fewer horses and less visitors. And then the third level was a more intensive level that had to go to special exception. Again, the very perceptive question by Values Planning was whether the second level was a requirement that those value added be accessory, or the word is ancillary or secondary to ag production. It's not. We did not clearly state that in the report, but it certainly is the intention of staff that second level still require that be principally a farm operation and that the farming use be the primary use. At the third level, a special exception, it need not be. Other stuff that we got into was the ag subdivision process and to try to continue the exemption for ag buildings. That was fairly controversial with some of the agencies. And then the other big issue was the whole issue of the code restrictions on the adaptive reuse of existing agricultural buildings and how the codes can make it economically prohibitive to be able to use an old bank barn. So to try to find some ways to provide for public safety, but have a reasonable amount of cost involved in, that didn't make the business not economically feasible. The planning board was I thought, anybody else can comment, was very supportive of this. They seemed to be very pro. They were very pro about trying to, so to speak, monetize agriculture a little more. There was a question about about our statistic on the value of agriculture in the county. We had indicated that we estimate the value of ag to be about 300 million. In contrast, it was stated that the county's GDP is 55 billion. So there was some question as to whether 300 million was really reflective. I went back and tried to find additional statistics or resources to clarify it, but there's nothing specific for the county. So while value-added businesses are highly valued, Baltimore County from an equine standpoint is number one in the state and a leader in the country. Of course, nurseries are very in the production, but regardless, I still couldn't come up with any good figures that took it much above 325 million. So we really probably need an analysis at some point to get a good value. As Wayne McGinnis pointed out, and we know agriculture is one of the best multipliers, meaning it contributes to a lot of other economic activity. And so depending on how you value that can dramatically increase the value of agriculture. So those were the main topics. And so tomorrow night, we'll see if the planning board votes to send it on to council. Once it's sent to council, that's when the work would really start. If the council requests that there be regulations drawn up to actually reflect what's in the report, that's where it's going to get to be that's going to be the real challenge. But at least this will provide a framework, which is really what's needed too.
And then the only other item is our next meeting is scheduled for December 9th. So far, we don't have any items known that are coming. So if we don't have any items, we'll cancel that meeting. We'll let you know. And then in your packet is the schedule for the 2021 meeting dates. So mark your calendars.
So yeah, as Megan said, hold on to December 9th. We're trying to put together a lunch for Gail Enzer, the former chair. So we might try to grab that date if we try to figure out where we can do something that meeting all the COVID standards and if people are comfortable meeting.
That's it.
Should we talk about what else just happens if December 9th doesn't happen? I know me and you discussed this, Megan.
Well, if we don't meet on December 9th, then this would also be the last meeting for Wally.
Oh,
So maybe we should make sure we hold that date or have a meeting for sure. Get all the last controversial business out of the way.
I think he can always call in as a concerned citizen in the future and just watch all of them,
That's right. So if the board wants, if the board
planning to
wants
retire in
continue-
January.
Yeah.
you're gonna retire in January?
Yes, Steve.
How many years you have Well,
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's over 30 years. I can't believe it.
you don't look that old.
Well, thank you, Steve.
I'll tell you,
You guys have kept me young.
I'll tell you, you kept us young. Well, it's wonderful. That's great. But I'll tell you, you will really be missed by all of us.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Should I do,
We should probably enter the closed meeting now, so.
okay. So
You want me to read it, this stuff here?
I can explain why we're going in. Okay. So we're going to go into a closed session now to discuss the county program applications. Just a little bit of background for the new members. It's been a few years since we've had an open application for the county easement program, and we currently have $2 million in the budget to spend on the county ag easement program in support of the administration's objective of increasing the rate of land preservation in the county. We were hoping to have the county and the MALF application deadlines the same in the spring, and we offered the ease of for both applications essentially at the same time. And so we have several dual applicants for both programs. We were delayed in the county program in rolling it out because we needed to update the formula that we use. And with the COVID situation, that was pushed back a few months. We did get this updated in August, and then we ran another advertisement of the application period ending on September 30th. We received 23 applications in all. We ran the formula for all of those and sent the formula value back out to the landowners asking if they wanted to move forward. And 10 applicants declined at that point to move forward. 6 of those were indicating that the price was too low or was lower than they were willing to consider. So just a note on the formula, we use a formula instead of an appraisal process like MALF does. And all of the board members that were on the board in the spring were involved in that formula update. So, you know, there's several programs that use a formula. Rural Legacy uses a formula, but we know that it's an imperfect process, but there are savings in time and expense of using a formula. So we take note of anything that we see. We want to be consistent in what we're offering, so we don't want to tweak things all the time, but we do make notes of things we see as we're using this. So anyway, the task before you tonight that we're going to close the meeting for is to rank the applications that you have not seen before. We'll use the LISA, the land evaluation site analysis that we use to rank the MALF applications already, and that's included in your packet. Joe will bring it up on the screen, and then we will go through everything and we can see how far we can make the $2 million go. So I'll hand it back to John.
Okay, the purpose of the closed meeting will be to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. The Baltimore County Agricultural Land Preservation Advisory Board will be meeting to rank applications for the County Agricultural Easement Preservation Program. The county board will be evaluating and ranking applications. This includes the determination of the characteristics of the property and the landowner's asking price.
So do we close this and then get back on again?
So we get that motion.
Right.
I think in the past, didn't we just close the public meeting? I don't remember.
That's right. So once we get the motion to close the meeting, we can stop recording. As long as you, Joe, can verify that only board members are on the meeting, then we're just going to continue in this form.
Okay, motion to close the public meeting.
So moved.
Here a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of closing the public meeting, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Public meeting is now closed.